I know usually the only thing people need to learn about me is that I'm running against Tim. And we go for a paper bag over him. And I would say we're going to try and raise that bar just a little bit higher.
No, you're our ham sandwich. Follow her on social media. She has great videos.
Thank you. Yeah. So I look around this room tonight and I am so heartened, right? We are building bridges. We are bringing together groups that are working on problems ranging from reproductive rights and healthcare, defending our democracy, voter access and voter registration, medical care, care for our immigration communities. The list goes on and on and on. As many of you know, today, November 1st, is the day that SNAP is not being funded in our communities for the first time in its 60-year history. That's not coming out, right? And I've been really heartened to see just a surge of goodwill in our communities coming forth, and so many people saying, we're not gonna let folks go hungry, right? So here are food pantries, here's where you can volunteer, here's where you can donate. And I'm heartened by that, and I'm also really saddened by that, because that means that our government is failing 41 million Americans. Yeah, right? And we are stepping up to fill in the gap. And it's good that when we see a house on fire, we are all grabbing buckets and filling them with water and running towards the fire. But we also need to build houses that are fireproof, and we need to fund our fire departments, right? I'm listening to the compassion and creativity and heart in this room, and all I could think about as I was sitting at this table is, what could you all be putting your minds and time towards if our basic needs were met in our community, right? As we've been seeing this SNAP discussion, I've been seeing a lot of things online of people saying, well, why is the government's job to feed people? Friend, if it is not the government's job to make sure that everyone can afford housing and health care and food, then what is the point of government? What is the point of government? What are we doing? So I'm a small business owner, I'm a scientist, and I actually spent the last year working in Congress in DC. I was working in the House office for a member from New York. And I saw the way that our government was failing people, and I also saw what was possible with this awful reconciliation bill that Republicans passed this past summer. I hate to call it what they call it, the one big beautiful bill. It's really the one big brutal betrayal, right? Where we saw one of the biggest wealth transfers in history from the backs of the working class to the wealthy. Yes. Republicans were pretty smart in how they sold that policy, but at the end of the day, the richest 1% are going to see $65,000 to $80,000 in benefit, while the bottom 20% are going to get about $100 of benefits. And the tax credits for the rich, those don't expire. The tax credits on tips and overtime, those expire in 2.5 years, right? It's all borrowed money, and they are throwing us crumbs while they protect the tables of the wealthy, and they tell us that the reason our portion of the crumb is smaller is because whatever group they have decided to demonize that day. We can all eat from a full table. We are the richest country in the history of the world. And we can ensure that every American and every East Tennessean can afford to live. This is not a radical ask. We are not extremists. We just want everyone to live well. Yes. The math's not that hard, actually. A lot of folks ask me if this is possible, right? You may not know that this is the longest held Republican district in the country. Yeah, pre-Civil War, 1854. Yeah. Time for change. Let's make history in East Tennessee together, right? Democrat has not made it into the 40s since 1964, right? So this is not just an uphill battle. I always tell folks this is a backwards cliff that we are climbing while like bees attack you, right?
You're taller than he is.
That's right, we'll use that. But I want to tell you that it is possible and that folks are waking up and folks are angry and they are starting to see that what we are being told that none of this is possible is a lie. We know that it is possible to not only not steal from Medicaid and Medicare to give the wealthy tax breaks, but to expand them. We know it's possible not just to go back to the status quo of what happened before Trump came into power, but actually say, hey, that status quo wasn't working for a lot of people, so how are we going to make it better, right? Yeah, we can make it better, yes. I saw some applause, let's get that, make it better. The math is there, it's about turnout, but I don't want to talk about math. I want to talk about two things that really gave me hope this week. Well, actually three things, because this group gave me a lot of hope today. Two things that gave me a lot of hope this week. One is that I actually, of course, follow Tim on all of his social media platforms. And I did an interview last week, and I didn't know there was going to be political commentators coming on afterwards. There were. You can tell what their ideological bent is by what they said about this race. But one of the journalists asked one of them a question and said, hey, you know, it's an uphill battle, but maybe Michaela being out here campaigning on these things, will that make Tim change any of his policies or make him rethink things? And the man said, no, nothing that Michaela has ever done, will ever do, will ever change what Tim Burchett does. But about a week and a half ago, as we knew that these SNAP cuts were going through, we had big SNAP cuts earlier this summer, but when we knew that SNAP benefits weren't going to be paid November 1st, I made a video and I said, hey, I'm going to say something that you won't hear politicians say a lot. If you're planning on donating to my campaign, please don't. Please donate to one of these food banks instead. Thank you. Do you guys know what I saw on Tim Burchett's social media today? He posted a video saying, I'm suspending campaigning for funding my campaign and asking for donations. And I'm going to ask that if you are going to donate to me, that you donate to a food bank instead. He's paying attention. We're already making some changes. And even if we don't get to 51% on election night, if we get turnout enough that we take away his mandate to be an absolute wackadoodle, he's going to start treating us like actual constituents and listening to us. Right? So there is a case for change, no matter what. 51%. The other thing that gave me a whole lot of hope this week, and it's funny, I've told my husband this story like 3 times, and each time I'm like, have I told you? He's like, yes, you've told me this story. So as Denzel said, I've been lucky enough to door knock with a lot of our city council candidates this week. And earlier this week, it was cold and wet and rainy, and we had just a few volunteers, and one person was there, and I went and I introduced myself, and I said, hey, is this your first time canvassing? And he said, it's my first time canvassing for this side. This man has door knocked over 10,000 doors for Republicans.
Oh, wow.
And he was out there canvassing with me and a progressive city council candidate because he knows that Republicans have lost the plot. So can everyone have food and housing and health care? Are these radical asks? No. Can we have them? Yes. And can change come to East Tennessee? I said, hell yes. My campaign manager is going to kill me because I didn't bring my materials, I'm realizing. But I'm Michaela Barnett, and I'm pretty easy to find, and thank you all for being here today. It was all her guys. getting in trouble again. Okay, we are having a town hall on the federal shutdown next Wednesday. Thank you so much, Andrew. At the CWA Union Hall from 7 to 8:30 p.m. We will have local organizations there with resources, whether that is food and grocery assistance, utility assistance. If you are an organization that wants to bring materials, Kasha, I also need to, you guys should come and table. So come out to the town hall. We have invited Burchett. We have not heard back from him, but we'll be there to answer questions and provide resources.